Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Fridays Live, the free family history series designed with you in mind. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you've had a really good week. My name is Ellie. I'm Senior Community Executive for Findmypast. And it means today we can sit back, relax, grab a hot beverage of choice, a little snack perhaps. We can celebrate our wins and our successes. We can help each other out. If you are a returning viewer, hello, lovely to see you again. You know the drill by now, everybody. And if you're new, welcome. Please do say hello in the comments. I promise you we do not bite. I have got some great stuff lined up for you today. I shan't spoil, but let's just say I had a successful visit to my grandmother's last weekend, and I thought I would share with you the fruits of my labours, so to speak. I can't wait to show you these. I hope you're excited as I am. I don't want to spoil anything just yet. So in terms of what we're going to do today, we are going to do new records. We are going to do question of the week. And if you have not submitted your question of the week yet, it is, do you use any of your family history sleuthing skills in other hobbies or in the workplace, or for that matter, in any other of any other areas of your life, really? Do you use it? I don't know. I want to know, basically. I want to know if there's any particular skills from doing your family tree and researching your records, looking at DNA results, any of that. What skills from these sort of areas are you able to use in other walks of your life? That is what I want to know this week. So answers in the comments, answers on a postcard, answers by pigeon post. Okay, the pigeon post might not get here in time, but hey ho. Cool. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. We're also going to do a little tutorial on tree-to-tree hints, because I love tree-to-tree hints. And in case you might not have used them yet, you might be a bit apprehensive about using them, let me put all your fears away and just talk you through how simple they are to use and how I think they are best used. We're also going to look at, if we have time, I don't know if we will have time, but I've prepped it anyway. If not, we'll save it for another time. We're going to look at some records I think you may have missed and why I think you should check them out. So we're going to look at Australia inward and outward bound passenger lists. And I've dug into these records, and they're so good because this collection is a sort of an amalgamation. That's a really long word, amalgamation, of different record sets in the collection. So there's so many different peculiarities and so many different things to find, really, different levels of detail. So I really hope I do have time to share these with you, because they're really good. And hopefully, while I have been waffling away telling you what we're going to talk about this week, it's given you all enough time to get comfortable and come in. So I can already see comments coming in really thick and fast. So great to see so many familiar faces in the comments. I say faces, names. I sometimes picture you guys, but yeah. Daphne says, hello from overcast Somerset, too close to Glastonbury. I'm going to be honest, right? Glastonbury, anything similar. I like watching it from the telly. I don't think I could cope being there. That many people, no, sorry, I just couldn't do it. I can just about do Roots Tech. That's probably my limit. But yes, that's just social anxiety kicking in there, I suppose. We've got Ian with us from North Wales. Hello. Sally says, I've got a couple of weeks absent, had a couple of weeks absent, but here today with chocolate. Excellent. I've just realised I don't have a snack. But then again, I can't really eat and talk to you at the same time. And let's be honest, nobody wants to listen to me chewing. Nobody wants to hear that. We've got Anya with us as well, and whoever is in the comments. Yes, we should have Niall. I did remind him. Hopefully he's now watching and replying to all of you. I normally give him a 5-minute warning, which I gave him, but maybe I should have given him a 1-minute warning as well. Who knows? Who knows? Oh, there's so many of you here today. Yes, gosh, Gillian, Edinburgh is really lovely. It has been lovely over the past couple of days. I've actually been really spoiled for Edinburgh weather, because that wind that we were having, that's now died down. So we've got sort of 20 degrees, and even when the sun's not out, it's a really good temperature. This is like my ideal temperature. I want it to be like this all the time, because then I can just, no hotter than this, no colder than this, just 20 degrees. I'll be quite happy. Oh, so many of you. Gillian from Winnipeg in Canada. Sarah joining us from Wexford. It's wet over there. Yes, I think we are getting some drizzly sort of showers. Yes, Janet also says it's showery in North Wales. dampen the pollen. Oh my goodness, yes, I completely agree. Hay fever is, oh, it's not on our side this year, everybody, I tell you. Hello, Anne, nice to see you here. Oh, so many of you. Oh, Louise is with us. Hello, Louise. I really enjoyed the new records that you gave us, published a couple of weeks ago. I really enjoyed digging into those, so thank you so much. In case you didn't know, guys, Louise is Norfolk gravestone photographer extraordinaire and has been single-handedly photographing Norfolk graves. We've got them on Findmypast. Go check them out. They're spectacular. So thank you, Louise. You're amazing. Jenny, hello. I also researched the local history of the village I live in. Yes, we love a bit of local history. We love a bit of house history in addition to family history. In fact, we just like the past in general here, don't we, everybody? We like the past. Oh, lovely. So many of you. Fantastic. Oh, yes, Sally says, I agree with you, Ellie, about Glastonbury. I went to V Festival once. It was horrid and dirty and wet. Yeah, just dirty and wet and too many people. It does not sound like my cup of tea, I'm afraid. Great if it's for you. I'm really pleased for you. Go and enjoy it. I'll watch it from the comfort of my sofa. Yeah. Niall's with us. Yes. You saw my 5-minute warning. Ha ha ha. Great. Okie dokie. Shall we do some new records? I'm just going to put, before I get cracking with those, I'm just going to put the question of the week on the screen again. So do you use any of your family history sleuthing hobbies in other, family history sleuthing skills? That's really long. Do you use any of those skills in any of your other hobbies or your workplace or in any other aspect of your life? This is what I want to know today, because I personally think family history skills, or the skills you learn in the process of doing your family tree, I think those are super transferable. So I just want to see some evidence of this now. This is what I want to see today. Okay. Let's do some new records, shall we? So I've got a lot to get through today because we had a massive bumper collection of new records this week. And interestingly, we have I think I said this before, we normally have a meeting on a Tuesday to discuss the upcoming records that come out on the Friday. And I was on annual leave on Tuesday, so I missed the meeting. So then I'm coming to, I think it was yesterday afternoon, and I'm looking at the new records. And I'm looking at the long list of things we've released this week, and goodness me, there's lots actually. And I also think there's, well, something for everybody. That's probably an exaggeration, but there's something for a lot of you here. So we've got records from India, we've got records from Ireland, we've got merchant seaman records, which cover pretty much the entire globe, because British merchant seamen could be from pretty much anywhere in the world. And then we've got more newspapers as well, but I'll dive into these in a little bit more detail now. So the first is the merchant seaman records from 1918 to 1941. We've added around 5,000 new records for these, and this is a rolling release. So this just means we have been able to release more recent records. You won't just find, as I said, British ancestors in here. They are from all over the world. You can get descriptions, next of kin, addresses, birthplace, rank, and quite often with these ones, photographs. I love photographs. There's now over 1 million records in this collection, which is just fantastic. And it's a really good time to reshare the only overthrow I've ever found in this collection. He is a relative. He's not a direct ancestor. This is Charles Leonard Overthrow. He was born in Cheltenham in Gloucestershire in 1891. And look, we also have a photograph. Oh, so good. I love it. So next up, we've got the British India Office births and baptisms. So we've also got the marriages as well that have been updated. So these are existing collections. We put new records in. So there are now about, I've lost my train of thought, excuse me. So there are actually 2 overthrows in these records. So the British India Office births and baptisms and the marriages. For the baptisms, I actually found an Iris Edna Overthrow. She was born in 1912 in Bengal. And then Leslie Edward Alfred Overthrow, and he was born in 1905 in Madras. They were actually siblings. So their father was Samuel Alfred Overthrow and their mother was Mabel Harriet. And the original record actually tells me for one of the children that Samuel was an engineer on one and then a driver in the RMRY in another. I don't know what RMRY means. And if anybody does know, I would love to know. I did not think about Googling it beforehand, which is just a It's a cardinal sin in my opinion, but hey ho. So yeah, these are just some examples of the records I found. So this was the one for Iris, and this is the one for Leslie. So yeah, I thought those were quite beautiful handwriting actually. And if you may remember, a couple of weeks ago, we released some English newspaper notices. So they're really nice and easy to search, and you get the original clippings as well. Well, this week we now have Irish ones, and they're brand new to Findmypast this week. We've got around 30,000 marriage notices. We've got about 42,000 birth notices, and then about 66,000 death notices. So if your family was in the habit of announcing their major life events via newspapers, definitely check these out. Now, these three collections, they are derived from three different Irish newspapers. So you've got the Belfast Morning News, the Champion or the Sligo News, and the Cork Examiner. A small word of warning, the death notices do not have names on the transcriptions. However, if you open up the original image, you will see the first name, if it was given, along with any additional detail. So just to let you know, this is an example of what the marriage notice form looks like. So you can actually search by things like name, publication title, place, county, spouse's name. And there's also, love one of these, the occupational keyword field. I love this field so much. And I just wanted to show you an example of a transcript. This is a Michael Walsh marriage, and this is an example of the clipping from the original image. I've actually cropped this out. It's actually it actually gives a couple more top and bottom depending on where it was on the page. But this is what it looks like. It's actually from the newspaper itself, which is really cool. And I did want to show you an example of some of the deaths as well, because actually I find the death notices to sometimes be how do I phrase this? Sometimes to be the most detailed, because you can get things like occupations, where they grew up, any other notable details, such as like whether they were in the army, for example, anything like that. Not always, but you can get more details with the deaths. Let's move on to newspapers, shall we? So we have added, we've added new pages into 8 existing titles this week, and then we've also got we've got 7 new ones. So these are the new ones. We've got the Colonial Standard, the Voice of St. Lucia, the Dominica Guardian, the Mirror for Trinidad and Tobago, the Carlo Nationalist, and the Cork Weekly Examiner. So the first 5 are from the Caribbean, and the last 2 are from Ireland. So there's lots for you to explore this weekend. I'm sure many of you are already doing it now. I wouldn't blame you if you were. Yeah, there's loads to look at, which is really nice. Now, let me just pop question of the week back up on screen, because we'll do this next, I think. And I just want to go back into the comments to see what you guys are chatting about. Let's have a gander here. Oh no, Victoria suffered from COVID, big birthday plans cancelled. Glad to be sitting on the sofa with you. I'm so sorry to hear that, Victoria. I hope you feel better. Yeah, when COVID got me, it wasn't fun. I was out of action for about 6 days. Boo. Pickles says, after a week off work, feeling really unwell, I'm looking forward to this afternoon. I'm pleased to hear you're feeling better. Well, I hope you're feeling better, actually. But yeah, sorry to hear you've not been feeling very well. Jennifer says, hello from an overcast Northamptonshire. Can Shirley send me some of her Cambridgeshire sunshine? I love that. We should just share the sunshine. That's really, really nice thought, actually. Okay, so question of the week. Now, before I do the live ones, I'm just going to read the ones I had initially on the announcement post. So Karen says, yes, I'm an accountant and I have used my analytical skills, maths and finance in my research. Good. Janet says, not now, but when working in a bank many years ago, my manager always got me to investigate problematic customer queries and to use your detective skills. This is the thing, right? I do sort of think of us as detectives. We are historians. We're all family historians, right? Or house historians or local historians. And you do have to have that bit of a detective about you, that you like to problem solve and puzzle solve and Yeah, you don't get stuck in a rut. You go and try something else. You vary what you're doing to try and get different results. And I do, as I said, I do think these skills can be used outside of our research. I genuinely do think that. Kim says, I apply them in everyday situations. My children do not thank me for it. I can deconstruct a scenario and look at any problem logically and then figure out the best approach forward. Now, this is something I wish I had taken from family history research. I think I do get there eventually, but then there's also you've got that analytical side, and then you've also got the emotional side. And I think the emotional side for me is what kicks in first, and then the analytical side comes later, but that's just me. Okay, right, let's have a look at some of these. I'm going to scroll back up to the top just to make sure I don't miss any. Thank you, everybody who puts QOTW at the beginning, by the way, because it really, really does help me get them out. So Anya says, I'm looking to do more with the local history society, but I can't work, so really I only sleuth my family tree. That's fair enough. What else have we got here? My phone's dinging. My sisters are messaging me. I had to tell them I'm busy. Okay, so what else have we got here? Oh, Lloyd actually says, today is my retirement from the position of Senior Programme Advisor for Service Canada. We have the workload and performance measurement for the employment insurance data narrative analysis. Goodness me, and it's your retirement day. Well, congratulations. I hope you are celebrating accordingly, Lloyd. Okay, I'm scrolling. Okay, Andrew says, I've researched the family histories of all the owners of my vintage car. I love this. I know that the first owner was on £700 per annum when he bought it for about £1,000. I love this. I must admit, I think we talk about this a lot. It's not just our own family histories we're interested in, right? It's also, say you're watching a historical film and some name pops up and you immediately have to go and see who that was. You have to look them up on Wikipedia. Am I the only person that does that? Or, if one of your friends or your colleagues says, I've never done my family history, and you're like, give me the info and I will look for you. I've done Janet's already, which is great. Sylvia says, I've been using my research skills for my thesis. Of course. Jill says, I used to before retirement. I was a secretary, supervisor, admin manager, personal assistant. Research and organising were enhanced through my family history skills. That's exactly what I like to hear. Gordon says, I use it for RAF, ex-RAF, looking for old friends they have lost touch with. Used it for 50th school reunion to find classmates. Yeah, that's so sweet. I love connecting with people from the past, from your past, so to speak. Okay. I'm still scrolling. Okay, Gillian says, one of the guys at work loves reading about military history. We could go on for hours talking about that subject. There's so much info to cover. I always find it's like you're finding a kindred spirit. And I completely agree with you, Gillian, where you say, you can just talk for hours because you honestly could. Like, where would you even stop? I don't know if there is a way you can stop. I swear if you guys didn't have other things to do, I would carry on rambling for another hour or so on Friday's Live. But I think you would get bored of me by that point. Oh, yes, very good. Okay, I'm still scrolling. I just saw a good one from Pickles, actually. Your distant relative has the same shape eyebrows. Do you mean the one from the Merchant Navy records? I don't think that... Let's just bring it up again. I'm going to have a look now. Okay, let me just go back to the slide. Same shape eyebrows. Maybe I could pose this. Look. I don't know. I think he's rather handsome, personally. I definitely don't have his ears, though. My ears don't stick out quite that much, I don't think. So there we go. I'm just going to go back because I need to make sure I'm on the right slide next, you see. Okay, so let's have a look and see what else we've got here. Karen's with us. Sorry, a bit late, working on the uncle's wife's family, tidying up the tree before visiting next week. There we go. It's just so much fun doing other people's trees and getting them interested in family history. We love to see it. Great. Okay. And Sally says, I used my skills to research a lady at work and then discovered that I discovered was my granny's neighbour when I was a child. It was a case of small world. I haven't told her that I was researching her. She might think it weird. Yeah, I think, yeah. You could just gently bring it up in conversation. Have you ever thought about researching your family tree? And then she'll go, oh yeah, would you do that for me? And then you're like, yeah, sure, just give me an hour. And then family tree. I'm problem solving, you see. Laurie says, never bored with Findmypast Fridays. I'd love to have it expanded. Be careful what you wish for. That's all I'm going to say, Laurie. Besides, so many of you need to go to the Irish Family History Centres live at 5 o'clock after us. So, I wouldn't want to stop you from going to that because I love Fiona. Love those guys. Okay, so the next thing I've got for you is a bit of a surprise. And I did sort of allude to it earlier. So I'm hoping it's a treat for you, okay? So recently I had a flying trip back to Wales and we called in on my grandma. And I decided to have a little bit of a poke in some of the bags and the boxes that she hadn't unpacked since moving. Granted, she did move like 2 years ago, but that's just my grandmother for you. And I came across several photo albums and several boxes of photos. And with her permission, I began rifling through them and capturing any ones I wanted with my mobile phone. Now, many of you will remember that I have asked and asked and asked my grandma for family photos. And it turns out all I needed to do was to go rooting myself. And oh my goodness, I was so rewarded for this. I'd not seen any of these before. I'd seen different versions of like 2 of them, but none of these, all of them were new to me. All of the photographs were new to me. And I thought I'd share with you some of my favorites, and I absolutely could share all of them, but they'd probably take up the whole session. So yeah, I think what we'll do is go and have a look at some of these. And I'm hoping it will inspire you to head to your relative's house and ask very nicely, so the family photographs, which room are they in then? Which box are those in? You don't want to go yourself? Just tell me where they are. I'll go find them. I'll go and have a look. Am I okay to open the box and have a look through? Sure. Great. That's what you need to do. It's so worth it. Okay, right. Without further ado, I'm so pleased to see these. So pleased. So these are photographs of my maternal grandfather, Gordon, as a young man. He's no longer with us. He was born in Shropshire or Staffordshire, depending on the record that you look at, in 1931. And after 1939, they moved to North Wales, the family did. And initially, when I was looking through this particular box of photographs, it was quite confusing for me because the ones at the top I thought were my grandfather. So I was taking pictures of them. But then I looked at some more and it was almost like you've got my grandfather around the same time, but younger. So then I went and asked my grandmother, like, are these both Papa? And she said, no, the first one that you're looking at there, the one who's older, that's actually his older brother. My goodness, they could have been twins were it not for the visible age difference. So yeah, and then honestly, I just love these. He's so smiley in them, so cheeky looking. And actually what really struck me is that the photo farthest on the right, he is the spitting image, in my opinion, of my cousin Harry. And I actually sent this photograph to my 2 sisters. I said, who do you think this looks like? And they're like, Papa. So yes, I know Papa, but who do you think he looks like? And one of my sisters was like, yeah, I can see it too. And then the other one said, not really. So there we go. So yeah, and then there were also some photos of him in military gear, because I do actually remember asking him when I was younger, were you ever in the army? And he did say yes. And the only thing I remember him telling me was that he used to deliver the post when he was in the army. That's the only thing I recall of that conversation. I must have only been about 8 or 9, I think. And I think these look like training photographs. And from one of them, we can see that one of them was taken at I think it's the 176 Field Battery Royal Artillery. And on some of the back of them, there were actually dates and Norfolk. So it seems he did his training in Norfolk. And the dates were 1949 and 1950. So yeah, I thought these were pretty cool. And he just looks so happy doing all of this and in his uniform and stuff. Yeah, really nice to see these. And then you've got these. So we've got Gordon and Sheila, my maternal grandparents, on their wedding day. And I think they got married in 1958, I think. I'm probably wrong. I'm going to have to go and check. But how stunning do they look? I also noticed on my grandma's bouquet, she's got a Welsh love spoon attached to it. And then she's also got some sort of cat ornament, which I only realised when I got back to Edinburgh. So I need to ask her about it. Yeah, I don't know why cats, but the love spoon I understand because it's traditional Welsh thing, but yeah, not the cats. One of these, the one second from the left, is actually my grandma with her father, Robert. So that's my great grandfather, and he was known as Tide because Tide is Welsh for granddad. And I just think that's wonderful. And I never met Tide. He died, I think, a year or two before I was born. But everybody that I speak to just said he was just such a big character, cracking sense of humour, a real gent. And I really wish I'd met him, actually. Georgia Draper, black cats were supposed to bring luck. Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe I don't need to ask my grandma at all. There we go. Thank you very much. Oh, Pickle says the same. Lucky cats. I've never heard of this before. I thought black cats were bad luck. But you learn something new every day. So thank you very much, everybody. Okay, what have I got next for you? Okay, so this is a group photo, and I love a group shot. Okay, so on here, you've got my grandparents in the middle, Gordon and Sheila, and then you've got both sets of my great-grandparents. So from left to right, you've got Ralph, my great-grandfather, you've got Joan, my great-grandmother, and then on the other side, you've got Robert and then Sarah Ann. There's mixed up, then it's not one set of great-grandparents and then another set, they've mixed them up a bit. I don't know why they've done that. I think it looks untidy personally, but I'm the only one that could see that. So yeah, I'd never seen this photo before, and I don't think, from memory, I don't think, like I've obviously seen pictures of Robert before, and I knew my great-grandmother Joan. I think she died when I was about 15. But I'd seen a younger photo of Sarah when she was a little girl. I've got a photograph of her, but I'd never seen a photograph of Ralph as an older man. Some of you might remember that a couple of weeks ago I found a photograph of him as a younger man in the newspapers, and he's not named in our newspapers in the article, but he looks like my grandfather did when he was a young man. So yeah. Photographers always used to swap parents around on the wedding photo. Does anybody else agree with me that that's just a little bit untidy? Or is it just me? Am I just being really strange? Oh, so lots of chat about the cats as well. They were very popular with brides in the 1950s, plus silver horseshoes. Yeah, silver horseshoes I get. I just never heard of the cats before. Karen says, in fact, some cultures believe black cats bring good luck. Their resemblance to the cat goddess Bastet led them to be honoured in ancient Egypt. In other countries, such as Scotland and Japan, they've been known to represent prosperity. This is really interesting. Honestly, you learn something new every day with you guys. I'm so grateful. Okay, right. What else have I got for you? So this one I thought was really cool. So this, I think, must have been taken during the First World War, because my great-grandmother Joan, who is in the middle, she was born in 1913, as was her twin Dorothy, who's on the left. And they're about two or three in this photo, I think. So probably about 1916, 1917. And on the right-hand side is my 2 times great-grandmother Kate. Yeah, my 2 times great-grandmother Kate, yes. I'd never seen a photograph of her as a young woman. And she was a postmistress. And this is the Kate that in the 1911 census, she was listed first and listed as the head. But it was her husband who filled it out, her husband, William. which I just thought was really, really sweet. And I think I've got one more for you. And please, I apologize for how chaotic this next one looks, but it's because there's so many people in the photograph. How good is this photograph, everybody? So just for a little bit of context, so the people in the middle, I'd seen a photo of just them on this particular day before. I've got that. I can't remember where, I know my mum has a photograph of that in her home, but I'd never seen this group photograph before. So this is a wedding anniversary of my 2 times great-grandparents who are in the middle. So you've got Kate and William. I'm not sure which wedding anniversary it is, actually. I'm sure I could work it out, but I haven't yet. But there's so many other people in this photograph. And I bet you're wondering, Ellie, how on earth do you know who everybody in this photograph is, given that it would have been taken about 60 or 70 years ago? I'm glad you asked. So while I was at my grandma's, I showed her this photograph. And before I left, I said, Grandma, please, can you tell me who is in this photograph on each row, left to right? And I wrote it down. Now, granted, I probably need to do something with this bit of paper because otherwise I'm going to lose it. But I encourage all of you to do the same. If you do go and see a relative, rifle through their old photographs, and you come across a big one like this and you don't know who's in the photograph, please ask your relative just to write it down, or they can dictate to you. Because I only knew about a third of the people in this photo, I think. So the ones in pink, labelled in pink, those are the ones I knew. None of the others I knew. For example, William's sister Louisa, I've researched her, but I've never seen a photograph of her, so I didn't know that was her. And then you've also got my great-grandmother's brothers, for example. Interestingly, 2 of them are missing. I need to ask my grandmother why they weren't there. I think one of them actually moved to Australia, so that might be it. And I don't know about the other one. Apparently, the other one was a little bit of a character, shall we say? So yeah, those are my photographs, and I hope you enjoyed seeing them, and I really hope it's inspired you to maybe go and check out your relative's stash of photographs, because they'll be somewhere. Okay, so Anya says, I'm looking to meet up with a second cousin for one time removed. Yeah, I managed to pick up 2 history books she had written but were out of print. I think she might be the key to working out some of the people in older photographs. Hooray for DNA tests. Yes, fantastic. Kim says, I don't believe in good or bad luck. The reason for a backpack crossing your path most likely means it's going somewhere. I love this. This is so true. Same as find a penny, pick it up. I finish off the rhyme as, and all day long you'll have a penny. Yeah, you're 1 penny richer. Find a penny, pick it up, and you're 1 penny richer. It's a win-win, really, isn't it? Michelle says, I've inherited the family photos since my mum's death. I'm sorry to hear about that, Michelle. How many pictures would you connect to the family member on the tree? That is totally up to you, actually. So on your Findmypast family tree, you have the option to upload as many photographs as you want. They all sit in the media section of the person's profile. I can actually show you what that means in a moment, because I've got a mini tutorial on something to do with the family tree. Then what you can do is you can pick one of those to use as the profile photo. So then when you're looking at the tree as a whole, that particular photo is the one that shows up. But you can attach as many as you'd like, and you can also add things like notes and when the photograph was taken, who's in it, just so you've got that recorded somewhere. Okie dokie then. Ellen says, great photos, thank you for sharing. I hope you liked them. I know they're very personal to me, but I hope you liked seeing them anyway, if that makes sense. I always like seeing your photographs anyway. So. Okie dokie then. So what we're going to do is we're now going to do a little tutorial, and we're going to do a tutorial on tree-to-tree hints. Now, what are tree-to-tree hints, you might ask me. And you may be thinking, I don't have a family tree on Findmypast. Do I want to upload one? Is it worth it? Etc. etc. Okay, so this is what tree-to-tree hints are. So you've got a family tree on Findmypast, and it's probably better if I show you. Hold on. There we go. Okay. You've got a family tree on Findmypast, and when you add information in for a person, which are normally hints into records, so whether it's a baptism record or a census record. So you'll get that popping up as a little orange circle. If I just zoom in on Frederick here, he's got 8 hints for him, okay? 8 hints. So they're normally for records, but a tree-to-tree hint is where somebody has opted into sharing their deceased ancestors on their family tree settings, because you can actually opt out of this if you don't want to share your deceased ancestors via tree-to-tree hints. You can actually opt out on your family tree settings, just to let you know. Niall will probably tell you more in the comments if you don't want to partake in this. But if somebody else has opted in and they have an ancestor on their family tree who has details that match what's on your family tree, this will pop up as what is known as a tree-to-tree hint. So what you'll see here, we've got Frederick A. West's hints open. And there's various ones there, but the first one we've got, and they're normally the first ones on the list if you've got one. This is a tree-to-tree hint. It says members tree, and it says it's a 97% match. Exciting. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, and I don't blame you. Copying other people's family trees is really bad practice. I 100% agree, but this is not to encourage blind copying. Tree-to-tree hints can actually help you discover new information. They can help you validate your own tree, and they can also help you make connections. So yes, you should absolutely do your own research into anything you find on tree-to-tree hints on somebody else's tree before adding the detail to your own family tree. Absolutely check the detail. Let's have a walk through though. Let me just show you how straightforward this is to use. So in the hints, as I said, the tree-to-tree hint is normally listed first. Like any other hint, you can then choose to review it before doing any merging. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at this tree-to-tree hint for Frederick West, which is this one here, and we're going to click review. I'm just going to move the after sun out of the way because I'll just end up knocking that over, because yes, I did burn myself the other week. So as you can see, this looks like a normal hint. And what we've got on the left-hand side is the detail from this other person's family tree. And then on the right-hand side, we've got the detail from my family tree. Okay. Now, as you can probably see, we've got quite a lot of matching, if not similar detail. So the birth year is slightly different. We've also got, for some reason, I thought I wasn't sharing them. We've also got things like the census. So we've got the same address, but not the, I haven't got the name of the house, for example. Got the same occupation, the same wife. This is great. This is great stuff. So it's very, very likely that this is the same person on both family trees. But there is something that I don't have. There's an extra person here that is not on my family tree, but is on this other person's family tree. So that's quite exciting. So there's another child here. So we've got Norman Frederick West, born in 1916. As you can see, there are also some links here. So you've got sources for the birth and also for the death. So what we can do is we need to find more details. We need to verify that this is actually the correct person before we do any merging onto my own family tree. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the source record first. So this is the source that the other person has attached to their tree for Norman. So I've already opened that up here. So for both the birth and the death, the source is actually a death record. So this is a death in 1993 in Poole in Dorset. This doesn't really tell me much else. It doesn't tell me how this person is connected to the family or anything else like that. I mean, the area is right, so sort of the southwest, but other than that, it's not really telling me much. So I think actually the next good place to try, given that this Norman was born in 1916, the 1921 census is probably a good place to go next. So, and this is one I prepared earlier. So here's the 1921 census record for Norman Frederick West. And indeed, we find Norman with parents Frederick West, Emily Bertha West, his sister, Ethel Bertha West, and there's also a widow in here as well, Jane Wade. And actually, Jane Wade is Frederick's widowed mother, I believe. Yes, I think that's right. No, Emily's widowed mother, excuse me, Emily's widowed mother. So there we go. I'm quite happy with that. I'm you know, as much matches as I would like. I'm sure you guys will go through other various details and checkboxes before you do any merging with your own tree, but I'm quite happy with that. So then what I would do is come back to the family tree, and then I click yes, next step, and then it's just a matter of merging. Now, before I do that, there is one more thing I wanted to show you. Up the top here, you've got this message the tree owner. So if you do get a positive match like this and you've looked at the detail and you've thought, yes, this is the same person, yes, we've both got the same person on 2 trees, you actually have the option to message this person. And there we go. You can add in a message there and you can cross your fingers that they reply because, as I'm sure you all know, that is never a given. And then once they reply, you'll get an email to say that they've replied. And then up here, you've got your inbox. So you can go to your private messaging inbox and you can have you can start correspondence with them, which is really exciting. And you can say things like, hey, turns out you've got someone on my family, your family tree, who's on my family tree. I wonder if we're related. And then you can give a little bit more detail depending on how comfortable you are doing that. So there we go. Let's do some merging, shall we? So I'm going to go yes, next step. And this is where I can choose how much detail to merge onto my own family tree, because I can do all of it or I can be a bit selective. So I am probably going to leave Frederick as it is, if I'm honest. I'll take 57A Laundry Road. I'll take that, I think. I'll probably leave Emily as she is because I've got her second name, for example. I'll probably leave her as well. And then Norman is the person I really want to carry over. So this is going to add Norman to my family tree. And there we go. I don't have much detail for Ethel either, actually. I'll add that too. And then once I'm happy, I can click. You can also revert as well, by the way. So if you change your mind, you can actually revert a change. You just click on that button. Like that. And then we click Save Changes. And then it'll think about it. And there we go. So what we'll now find is I now have Norman on my family tree. There we go. Told you it was easy. As I said, tree-to-tree hints are not designed for you to just blindly copy. Okay, we all know, you all know that that's a no-no in family history. What it is designed for is to be a useful research tool, to point you in the right direction for information you may not already have. Like, I didn't have Norman. I did not have Norman, and now I have Norman, which is great. You do need to check the facts, okay? Go and do your own research. Yes, you've seen somebody else it's definitely the same family. They've got an extra person or an extra detail. Please check it yourself before you change anything on your family tree. Just do your due diligence. Can't say that word. No, I'm just going to stop. I can't say it. You're all now going to be trying to say it as well. I can assure you. I'm hoping I've inspired you to give it a try and let us know what you think of it, whether you've got positive feedback, where you've got, you might have some constructive feedback for how we can improve it. We want to know it all, okay? So there we go. And I actually do have time to do the last thing I wanted to do today. But before we do that, I'm going to have a wee look at the comments. Let's have a look. Sylvia saying her internet keeps breaking up. No. Hopefully you can tune back and watch the rest of it. Bev saying, I can't get Facebook Live on my tablet the last couple of times. Oh, unfortunately, that's a Facebook issue, Bev. That's not something we'll be able to help with, I'm afraid. Maybe you've done an update to the app on your tablet, and maybe there's a bug with the app. I'm not sure. But yeah, maybe just ask Facebook support to see if they can help. I'm pleased to help you found that useful. There's so many different facets of sort of the Findmypast experience that you might not have tried, or maybe you didn't even know were there. So this is what these are designed for. And as I said, any feedback you guys have for how we can improve these, we want to hear. We're all ears. Okay, I'm just having a scroll. You didn't chat that much while I was doing that tutorial, so I hope that means you were all listening intently, or you had another tab open and you were having a play around with it yourself. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Okay, so we do actually have time to do the last thing I wanted to do today. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a wee look at Australia inward, outward and coastal passenger lists from 1826 to 1972. So this is the search page, and a couple of things to know about these before we get into them. So I was actually reminded of this collection while I was watching Who Do You Think You Are on Thursday, because it was Anna Maxwell Martin's episode, and at one point I was able to look up I think it was her great-grandfather in this particular collection. So I thought it would be a really good idea to show you guys the level of detail that's available in these records and how you can also use them in combination with other records. So perhaps you know that your ancestor or your relative headed to Australia during this time, in which case you should definitely be looking at these. Or if anybody disappears from the record. So for example, if you've got an ancestor in England, Wales, Scotland, for example, and they just disappear from the census records for like 10, 20 years and then come back. They could be in the military, they could be in prison. Actually, they probably still would be on the census if they were in prison. Ignore that one. Or maybe they went to Australia. I mean, they could have gone elsewhere, but let's just say, for argument's sake, they went to Australia. So with these record collections, you get transcripts and images normally, and there's quite a bit of varying detail, actually. There was no standardized format for these records. Some of them are really detailed, and then you've got others that have got like bare minimum information, but any information is better than nothing. You can learn things like occupations, marital status, departure date, arrival places, the ship's name, and also sometimes some additional notes. Of course, if your ancestor or your relative was traveling with somebody, maybe a spouse or a brother or a parent or a child, you'll see them listed too on the original. Normally, I say normally. There are two different types of these records. So you've got the assisted passengers, and these are the ones who emigrated under a sponsorship scheme. So that means that their voyage was at least partially funded by the government, by the Australian government. Then you've also got the unassisted. So these are the people who paid for their own fare or may have been privately sponsored. Now, the reason this is important to distinguish is because before 1852, it wasn't required for unassisted passengers to be recorded. So you may know or suspect that your ancestor went to Australia, but if they went before 1852 and they were unassisted, you may not find them in the records. So that's just something to bear in mind. I'm losing my voice today. You can just tell I've been talking too much. So this collection is actually made up of various different record sets. I'm not going to read all of these off. I'm sure you can read them for yourself. But this is the reason why the detail varies, is because the collection is made up of smaller sets. Now, remember as well that some passengers may be recorded as part of a family. So rather than listed as each individual person and on the original, they may be grouped together. So you might find like Mr. Jones and wife and infant child. And that's pretty much the level of detail that you've got from that record. You may only get initials as well. You may get things like, Mrs. Molyneux, for example, or yeah. Also important to remember that sometimes women, children, servants, people who travelled in steerage, they were sometimes not recorded on passenger lists. So again, you may know that your ancestor went, but if you can't find a passenger list for them, please don't sweat it, okay? It may be that the record just wasn't kept. Shall we take a look? I've got some examples to show you. Okay, so there are actually 7 results for overthrows in this record collection, okay? And as you can see here, it's a bit of a mixed bag, and I think there are actually some duplicate results. So all this means is that, you know, you can see the infant and the infant with there, the 2 different results. It's actually the same infant. It's just that one's from one record collection and one's from another, and they're both in the same big set. That's all that means. So we've got a WA overthrow born in 1866, travelling from Sydney to London in 1855, and I glean all of that just from the results. I've not had to pay to look at it at all. We've got an infant born in 1884, perhaps another in 1885, I don't know, unless they are indeed the same infant, which I think they are. So I can also see that the voyage would go via Adelaide, the Suez, Naples before arriving in London. That is actually quite a voyage. It's quite impressive. There's also a Douglas George overthrow who travelled in 1970. And then it seems like there's 2 others. So there seems to be one born in 1850 and then one born in 1864. Shall we have a look and see what we can find? Let's look at the earlier voyage first, and let's just see what we can learn from the records. Okay. So WA Overthrow is a single male joiner. He left Sydney on a ship called the John Elder. He was 20 years old at the time, and it looks like he travelled alone. Now, because there's just initials there, it's quite difficult for me to discern who that is in particular. I did go and actually have a look in Findmypast records, and I couldn't choose. I couldn't quite definitively say whether it was a William Alfred overthrow or a William Albert overthrow, because one was born in 1866 and one was born in 1867, and I don't have enough information to tell me which one he actually is. But hey ho. I mean, I could if I, you know, spent more than 10 minutes on him, which I didn't, because, you know, I've got other things to prep for you guys. Let's have a look at Douglas George, shall we? So he arrived in Australia on the 27th of December 1970. And what you'll see here on the transcript, there is a link to his record, to the original. So why don't we have a look at that? So this takes you to an external website, the National Archives of Australia. And look at this, isn't this fantastic? So this is actually one long record, and I've just split it up so it goes on the slide a bit better. So what we learn here is that he boarded the ship in Auckland, New Zealand. He was born in England on the 31st of July, 1917. He's a printer. He's been in New Zealand for at least 12 months. He's going to Australia for a holiday for 24 days, would you believe? And we also get who he's staying with, a Mr. T. Whitehouse in New South Wales. And we get his signature. That is just incredible detail. So if you do find on any of these transcripts a link out to the National Archives of Australia website, absolutely click on it. Please do yourself a favour. You'll learn so much. And for any, I don't think Jen's listening today, but fan research, friends, associates, neighbours, we know that Mr. Whitehouse is a friend, associate or neighbour of our dear Douglas George. Now, Douglas George isn't actually on my family tree. I did go and check because, let's be honest, all overthrows are related in some way, shape or form. And I did want to see what else I could find out about him. So he was actually born in Luton in Bedfordshire. His mother's maiden name was Ashton. And I actually did know already that there is a small contingent of overthrows in Luton. I think one of them moved from the Midlands in, I think something in the 1860s or 1870s, I think. So in 1921, he was here living with the Buchan household. And we also do get his parents. We get William George and Gertrude Mary. And William was a certified accountant. There we go. He married a lady called Dorothy E. Walford in Bridgnorth in Shropshire in 1941. And then I found that I actually found that when he left the UK to head to New Zealand. So this is back in 1954. He headed for New Zealand aboard the Tamaroa. I'm probably mispronouncing that. By this point, he's a clerk, and the original tells me that he went alone. His last address in the UK was listed here. So he married in 1941. He went to New Zealand in 1954, and Dorothy wasn't with him. So then I went and checked to see, did Dorothy go over earlier? Did she go over later? No, I think they divorced because in 1955, the year after Douglas headed for New Zealand, I found her marrying another chap called Robert Wynne. So there you go. So, you know, I can speculate all day long, but maybe they divorced and Douglas headed for New Zealand just to, you know, start a new life over there. And he seemed to be enjoying himself because he went on a holiday to Australia in 1970, which I think is really sweet. Let's do one more before we finish because we're at 4 minutes to the hour already, which is just crazy to me. Let's look at the infant because actually this is the one that probably interested me the most. Now, it just says on this particular record that the infant is, there's one person under one. So they're anywhere between, you know, 1 day old and 11 months old. So this infant travelled on the Cusco from Sydney to London in 1855. From this original, we actually see the child was with a Mrs. Overthrow, who is 21 years old. Apparently she was English and the child was Scotch. We do not get the sex of the child. We don't get a name. We don't even get an initial of Mrs. Overthrow. And I wonder if that's all the details she gave, because for some of the other people on this list, you do actually get the initials. So yeah, a bit of a shame because it means I can't research that any further. I mean, how many Mrs. Overthrows are there going to be out there? I'll tell you what I could do though. I could have a look on maybe Scotland's People and see any overthrows that were born in Scotland in 1844. That would be a good place to start. I'm going to do that after we finish up here. I'm going to go find that. Maybe have a look in Findmypast Scotland, Scottish parish records as well. Interesting. So there we go. I hope I have inspired you to check these out. It's honestly, it's a fantastic little record collection. I say little, it's actually quite extensive. And as always, let me know what you find because I live on your stories. I live on your discoveries. So keep them coming, basically. Now, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So next week, Wednesday, 4 o'clock UK time, Jen is interviewing a very special guest to mark the 4th of July, which is coming up. Michael Troy of the American Revolution podcast, if any of you guys have ever listened to that. Really, really special guest. Jen is very, very excited. She's a huge fan of this podcast and of Michael himself. So definitely tune in for this one. And then you've also got Jen on Friday for Friday's Live. Aren't you lucky to get Jen twice in 1 week? Now, you won't see much of me over the next coming weeks. I have a significant life event to attend to. I'll be back on the 22nd of July, though, if all things go to plan. So I'll just have a quick look at the comments before I sign off and let you go enjoy your weekend. You're very welcome, Gillian. I'm just pleased it can be helpful for you. So yeah, lovely. Yeah, Anya saying if the baby was Scotch, I'd be on Scotland's People. Honestly, that's where I'm going to go next. Great minds think alike. Now, somebody was saying they weren't very well. Whoever it is, I hope they feel better. Yes, it's Victoria. Yes, I do hope you feel better. Yes, and you'll have to have some cake as well. Oh, your birthday's tomorrow. That's lovely. Yeah, just eat loads of cake. That will help, I promise. Maybe a cheeky glass of Prosecco. Who knows? Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today, everybody. I'll let you go because, you know, a lot of you will want to go to see Fiona as well. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And yeah, I'll catch you next time, I suppose. Take care of yourselves.